Could the Niners move on from Fred Warner this offseason? Why or why not? Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because they're really in the same situation this year with Warner as they were last year with Buckner. The difference is that they don't have him on a 5th-year option, which kind of changes what his salary is. So, Buckner's salary going into last year was going to be $15 million, or I think it was 12.5 because of that 5th-year option. It's not going to be that with Warner, but you're still looking at a guy that you're going to have to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of probably $18.5 to $19 million of new money, because he's going to be getting more than the guy up in Seattle. You also have Darius Leonard out in Indianapolis who's going to be getting paid. So the linebacker market's going to change, and so there could be a situation where the Niners decide that they want to get rid of him, get a draft pick, and then really put themselves in the same situation that they were last year, where they have 2 draft picks, maybe even high draft picks in the first round, that they could use one of them to get a quarterback that they need, and then they can maybe bump back a little bit, because if they do something like that, that puts them in I said, when they did the deal last year where they traded Buckner, they really put themselves in a bind where you kind of knew that they were going to be going defensive tackle. So if they do that, they'd probably be targeting somebody like the kid out of Notre Dame, Owosu Karamoa, who's really good, that they could probably get in like the 16 to 20 spot.
Oh,
yeah, I do like the Notre Dame guy, and I do think that's probably what they would have to do if they trade Fred Warner. But I think we all kind of agreed they kind of undersold on DeForest Buckner and could have got more than that 1 first-round pick, or they should have at least. And that would be the only way I would consider trading Fred Warner if this team is in a win-now situation, is they need to be overpaid for Fred Warner. I don't think they should trade Fred Warner for 1 single pick. I think they need to be kind of overblown, and that's the way you should trade your top assets. And that's at least my opinion. There is always a possibility they could trade anyone. I didn't think there was one before they traded DeForest Buckner, and now we kind of know anyone's pretty much available unless you were a guy traded up for in the 2nd round and you're a wide receiver. Then you're untouchable. But after that, you're open.
Hey, good call.
So what you're saying is trade him to the Jets for one of their first-round picks. That's what you're saying, because that's probably the only place that you can entertain, because Sally Crap and Salah loves him. But could they trade him for him? Of course they can. No one's not touchable. I mean, the fact that they traded DeForest Buckner, their homegrown captain, a leader in that locker room, I swear to God, it's like everyone could not rave about him anymore in that locker room when we were able to go in there. But do I see them doing it? No. That's not gonna happen, because now it's like, great. Now you have a greater need. Now you pretty much just add another position need. Like you guys said, now it's kind of great. Now we're forced to draft, but wait, now we're forced to draft a left tackle, a quarterback, a corner. What are we doing here? That's way too much to take on for a team that doesn't have as many draft picks that they would like. Of course, there's some maneuvering they can do, maybe and climb up and do some type of, whatever factoring they have to do. But no, I don't see it happening. Could always happen, but you got to stay with Warner. And I think they really love him, especially because of how much the 49ers defense is predicated on impressive linebacker play. And in DeMeco Ryans' first year as defensive coordinator, you're going to take away arguably his best defensive guy. That's not really an ideal situation to step in and set him up for success next season.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Jose. I mean, you swayed me on that, but I feel like the Niners could, if it does happen, and I don't know if it necessarily will happen, but it could. And if it does, the Niners will justify it the same exact way they justified the Buckner signing. They'll be like, look, love Fred. We love Buckner. We love Fred Warner, but Buckner wanted $21 million a year. Fred Warner's going to want close to that, 18, 19, maybe 20. And I think they felt like, I'm sorry, you're just not a premium position defensive tackle. You're just not a premium position middle linebacker. I don't want to spend that much on that position. And giving all that money to you means last year they would have had to lose Eric Armstead, Jimmy Ward, multiple players. This year they could say the same thing. If we give our middle linebacker $19-20 million a year, we're definitely not going to bring back Jason Verrett or Trent Williams, who both play more important positions, left tackle, cornerback. So I'm not saying they go that route, but they could just use the same exact logic they used last year, roll it over this year, and do it again. And that's why I wasn't surprised when Peter King had Fred Warner as his guy. He's floating in the Deshaun Watson trades. Like, yeah, it seems like the guy the Niners would be most comfortable moving, the expensive middle linebacker.
Yeah, him over Bosa for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I see people in the comments saying that we're playing Madden and stuff, and it's not necessarily that. I don't think anyone not to speak for everyone else, but is saying they must trade Fred Warner. But it's if they're being overblown, you have to consider everything. But like Jose said, having a first-year defensive coordinator and having the on-field leader, you would love to keep him. Yeah, you'd love to keep him, but
they should keep him. But you could see them doing something like what they did last year. And if we had this conversation last year before they traded Buckner, I'm sure there'd be people in the comment section like, "Why are you guys trolling for attention? Like they're never going to trade Buckner." I mean, and then they did. No one saw that coming. Honestly, I didn't read any articles in the lead up being like, "Don't be surprised if the Niners trade Buckner." I was freaking shocked.
Just remember, they love these players so much, but at the end of the day, all these players are assets. They're all assets. So as much as you love them, it's like they got to take a step back. Like, you know what? These are my chess pieces, and I got to see how much more I can get from these guys to help make my other squad players right. Which is, like you said, that's the excuse you would use if a trade were to happen to the Jets.
You love Fred Warner.
I bet it would be the Jets.
You love Fred Warner on a rookie deal. He's the biggest bargain on your team. But Fred Warner at $19 million a year. Now you're paying a premium for a non-premium position. Yeah, unless they really see middle linebackers.
Is he worth the money? Or should the warrant for giving the 49ers stay? Should he give him that money?
Premium for the leadership and the smarts and all that stuff. I mean, yeah.
It's a great point that Jose makes as far as the whole the money part, and and the fact that you have guys that fans are going to love them, but and you want to give them the money for what they've done for the organization. Like I was just listening yesterday to an old manager talking about the Giants, an old GM talking about the Giants, and the San Francisco Giants. Part of the reason why they're in the position they are is because when they were winning those World Series, they just kept giving their guys contracts, and they got old,
right?
And then they got to the point where they weren't competitive anymore, and
they still have some of those old contracts on their team. Brandon Crawford, Brandon Bell. It's like, oh my god, yep.
Yeah, if you're going to go into paying a middle linebacker, $20 million a year, $18 million on an average deal, even if you backload that thing at the end of that contract, that's going to be huge money. Yep. So, you got to really be careful as you're starting to build here, because you're looking at, am I going to pay my middle linebackers $20 million? Am I going to pay my left tackle $20 million? I got a couple wide receivers that are pretty good.
Quarterback making 27.
Exactly.
The defensive end making 18.
That's
the other defensive end making 17. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, all of a sudden your team is 8 players and a bunch of 5th round picks. Yeah, that's interesting. Again, and remember, Patrick Willis never made $18 million a year. Navarro Bowman never made $18 million. Far from it. So this is a whole new stratosphere for linebackers.
It just keeps rising and rising, man. Every year.